Alright, so we're finally getting to Chromatiz. It's been long enough. I started with an all-white prime because he is definitely going to take a lot of colors. We're starting with some Squid pink on the entrails. So you gotta get your brush deep in there and hit all of the intestines and stomach and everything like that with some Squid pink. Next we have Scarlet Red. Scarlet Red is going to be for all of the muscle fibers. So you're going to get them, you see the most amount of them cleanly on the back hips. But you also have all the spaces in between the ribs. And then there's like chunks of skin missing in the front that you're going to want to hit. A little bit on the back area. You want to try to be as clean as you can with this red though. And try not to hit any of the skin if you can avoid it. Druchii Violet, I am shading down all of the entrails into a disgusting purple color. It's gross. And then Carroburg Crimson, I'm washing all of the Scarlet Red with Carroburg Crimson. At this point, you want to give yourself about 15 minutes to let all of this stuff dry. Depending on how thickly you put it on. I did put it on a little thick. I wanted to get really dark red in the muscle tones there. So now we're coming back with flat red, and the flat red is thinned down to pretty much a glaze, and I'm just going to glaze over and over and over again until I get the vibrant red that I want. And I'm being careful where I put this because I want those dark red shadows in there. This is definitely what sells this as being muscle. And then what we normally do with red is highlight with like an orange or a yellow or something like that. We're not going to do that on this model. We're actually going to put some ivory in, very little at a time, and we're going to pick some very specific highlight points and slowly build up that pink. We never get to the same pink that we use like on the entrails, but a little bit of pink there in some of the points. And that, I think, sells that muscle. You can see that muscle tissue now just looks like muscle tissue. It looks totally disgusting. And I think the pink is what really sells that, is the vibrant red, the dark red, and then the pink as the color on a natural thing. We're doing the Squid pink again. This is the actual pink on the entrails, only the things you can see from the side, so you want to brighten those up. You don't highlight underneath the model because that wouldn't make any sense. Flat brown, I'm coloring in all the bones that I can't wash, and the reason I can't wash them is, as you see here, if I would wash them it would get onto the red. So I'm being very, very careful to paint flat brown on the ribs and the backbone, and then the forearms, or whatever they're called on a horse, all the bones that are exposed, including the horn and the skull, I'm painting in khaki because we're going to actually wash those. And so we're basically doing the same thing in two different ways. I think the wash gives you a better result, and that's why anything I can wash I'm going to. So here we use the Agrax Earthshade, and that we're going to darken down all of the khaki. So everything that we painted khaki will get the Agrax. Everything that was painted with the flat brown will stay flat brown. So two different ways to do the exact same thing, but I do think this gives you a better result. So now we're going to use the khaki again, and we're going to come back up and highlight everything. So you're highlighting those bones you painted brown as well, not just the stuff that you washed. So now everything is being brought to look the same. It may take you a couple layers on the ribs, but you just want to make sure that you get that khaki on there, and then you're going to start to highlight the khaki up with some ivory. So start with maybe like a 25-75 mixture, and then do 50-50, 75-25. It's going to take a couple of layers if you really want it to look like bone. and you want it to be really vibrant and pretty. I think the point of this model is that it's very disgusting but pretty at the same time, and the way you do that is to really push highlights anytime you get the chance. So here you can see this is almost a pure ivory that I'm going and hitting in all of these areas here, and then I'm even going to come back with a little bit of white and pick out some areas. Now the white is mixed into the ivory khaki mixture. I didn't go pure white because pure white would have been too bright. We want to save that for the highlights of the fur. But you can see I'm just picking out some little points on them to just really sell the fact that these bones have been picked clean a long time ago. Now I'm going to go back in all of the skin. I'm going to clean up the skin and take the red and browns and stuff like that off of it. So just using ivory to paint every piece of skin that is left. This is going to be the base color for the skin. So I'm doing here, and sorry that the color is a little blown out. The white and my white filter did not play well together, and so of course it's like a little blown out, but you'll still get the point of all this because you can still see it clearly. What I'm doing is I'm taking wolf gray, and the wolf gray has some glaze medium in it, not to really thin it down as much to allow it to dry for longer, or take longer to dry. So I'm painting in all of the shadows with wolf gray. And then I'm coming back with a clean wet brush and wet blending it, or I guess fading it out. So as I'm going on to the hump of the muscle and into the skin, I'm pretty much washing that gray away. The parts where there are deeper muscles, or like there's really big cuts, you mostly see it on the chest and a little bit going towards the stomach while there's still a little bit of skin left. In those areas I hit a second time. So I'm doing a nice long cut here so you can see that I'm just in every area I'm putting that gray and then coming back and washing it away. You can see the difference between the left side of the chest and the right side of the chest. Of left side has gray, the right side does not have gray. And here I am hitting those again, making sure that that gray really sells it. Now we're doing the opposite for the highlights. I will tell you, this takes painting a white horse. If you don't want it to look choppy and look really like, a lot of people complain that painting white is really hard. It's not hard, it's time consuming though. There's nothing hard about it. Here I've put white on the highlight right at the ridge where the hair starts, and then went and wet my brush and faded the white out going down. So there you go. You do gray in the shadows, you already have ivory in there, and then you paint white along the ridge and fade it out going down. I used black for the eyes here. The eyes were, one is really small and one is big, but you know, and that's just how sometimes these models get made. It's what happens. Don't worry about it too much. Here I am using refractive green to paint a third of the tail and a third of the mane. So I'm painting both the mane and the tail at the same time with the same colors. Using orange fire to paint a second third. Now we're going to turn this into a rainbow, but by using the secondary colors, it allows us to overlap the primary colors on top of it, and it gives it a really easy way to shade and shadow when you don't have a lot of room to do it. I sort of invented this technique myself, or I should say, I shouldn't say invented. I taught this technique to myself. Nobody showed me this, but I was playing around with it and it seemed to work really, really well. So now you can see the mane is already painted. Now I'm coming back to do the tail. The mane was where I tested this out. Turned out to work really, really well. So I'm using flat green here, and flat green I'm painting the highlights in the center of the green. Then I'm going to use, let's see, what color do I go to next? Oh, come on. Alright, so then I use lemon yellow. And lemon yellow, I'm hitting a little bit of the green and a little bit of the orange. So it's like the yellow is split 50-50 between those two colors. And you can see on the main, that makes there be a really easy blend and transition between all the colors. Now I'm doing flat red, and flat red is 50-50 on the orange and the purple. Then we have flat blue, which is not really 50-50, but it's just taking up a small section of the green. It doesn't loop around to purple underneath, so I guess unless you really worked at it to make that happen, you could make it happen, but it's not really necessary. And then I'm using Vallejo Model Colors Purple to do the other side of the purple and highlight it up here. Now that gives us really good transitions and blends, but now we need to actually highlight. And so what I've done is I've taken white and added white to all 8 colors. Or not 8 colors, sorry, all 6 colors. So all 6 of the highlight colors. And now I'm picking out just the ridges, and I do that for the mane and the tail the whole way down. Moving into the last little part, I wanted to create a cool swamp base, so I removed the horse from the base. You do not need to do that if you don't want to. But what I'm doing here is I'm putting Azure with glaze medium in it to ensure that it stays wet for a while. And the reason I'm doing that is that after I put the Azure on, I come back with white, and that white is mixed with a glaze medium, and I sort of wet blend those together with an emphasis on trying to get as much white onto it as possible and leaving the Azure in the shadows. And it kind of gives this really light, pretty blue to the back of the feet. You could paint those as fire if you wanted to. You could paint those as a rainbow as well. I was kind of done with the rainbow after spending a good 30 minutes on the tail and the mane. So I wanted to do something simple, and that's a normal like unicorn color, is that light blue for the back fur. The front hooves are just bone, so paint those as bone, but the back hooves need to be in gold if you're painting a traditional unicorn, because they still have their actual nails. And then because they're on the ground and mine are going to be in mud, I did some Agrax Earthshade on them, make sure that they dry completely. And then this is what you're left with. I think that he turned out really awesome. I made it a nasty, muddy, swampy base. On Instagram, this is my most liked photo that I've ever had, so people seem to really like him. I think he turned out great. So make sure you like the video if you like my videos, which I've said like about 1,000 times, and don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what other model you'd like to see painted, and I will see you all next time.
New outro, I know. If you want to watch more in this series, click right here. If you would like to watch another video in a completely different series, click right here. And if you'd like an easy way to subscribe, other than clicking down below, even though it's right there and it says subscribe, you can click on this little picture right here. That also works.